Hey friends, welcome back to the OT Minute. My name is Arno. In today's video, we are going to do a quick review of Maslow's hierarchy of basic human needs. This is usually a pyramid chart that you've probably seen in general psychology. It's worth spending a few minutes just to review what are the 5 categories or levels of this hierarchy of basic human needs. And then also let's talk about how does that influence the way we see our patients and maybe meet their needs to help them become all that they want to be as occupational human beings. So first, let's run through just what these 5 levels are. The most foundational level and the first basic human need that needs to be met is our physiological needs, according to Maslow. Again, this makes sense. This is things like we need to have water, we need to have food, we need to have rest, we need to have warmth, we need to have air, just the physiological needs that we have as human beings. Now, once our physiological needs are met, the next thing is that we need to have some sort of safety and security. So this is the second need for humans, according to Maslow, that we would have security. And this is the sense of knowing that we will be safe from the elements or from any accidents. And again, that we will have the security to know that our physiological needs will be met, not just in the moment, but in the future as well. The third level, once our security needs are met, is this level of love and belonging. So the idea is once our physiological needs are met and we have the food, the air, the warmth, the rest that we need, and we have security and a sense of safety, the next thing we can start to think about and focus on is getting a sense of love and belonging. So this is the social connection here and feeling like we are part of something outside of ourselves. This means we can start to focus on things like friendship, on love, intimacy, higher human needs than just our basic physiological safety. Now, once we have kind of achieved this loving and belonging stage or level in the hierarchy, Maslow starts to say that we need to focus, or that we can at this point start to focus more on a sense of self-esteem. Now, this can be having a self-esteem for yourself and also getting the esteem of others. So it's a sense of being respected and respecting oneself as well. This can include a sense of achievement, recognition amongst others, and also a sense of positive self-image. And finally, now at the top of the pyramid, once somebody has met their physiological need, their security and safety needs, their love and belonging needs, their self-esteem needs, now they start to be able to focus on their self-actualization need. The way that Maslow kind of conceptualizes this is when somebody is kind of living out their full potential. So their own personal goals, their own sense of purpose. Here at this level, somebody has creativity, problem solving, they have a deep sense of who they are as a person. And so that's self-actualization, and that's the highest or most complex level of human need. Hopefully you've enjoyed that little review of Maslow's hierarchy, but I do want to talk real quick about how that relates to occupational therapy, and I hope to share just some practical examples that will hopefully make it memorable and maybe even practical as you think about what you're doing when working with case studies or with patients. The first one, let's talk about physiological need. I think this is a really neat area for occupational therapists and occupational therapy students to be advocates for their patients. I think a lot of times we think about how can we get somebody to be occupationally very independent and efficient so that they can be the best that they are? But sometimes we neglect to think about what are their physiological needs. For example, if you're in a hospital setting like I am, did the patient sleep enough? Are they cold? Have they been drinking enough water? If these basic physiological needs aren't met, it's not to say that they can't participate in the session, but they're not going to be the full version of themselves that they could be during that session. So can we meet some of these needs? Sometimes it's as simple as giving a blanket or getting some water or giving them 15 more minutes to eat their breakfast, so that again we can take care of that basic human need to help give them more efficacy when trying to operate at some of the higher levels of human need. The second level, security, I think is also a really important one where occupational therapists can make sure that we stop and pause before diving into treatment to make sure that is the person in a state of feeling safe. For example, if we're working with children, do they feel scared? Do they feel safe during the session? If they're not feeling safe, again, they're going to have trouble relating with us as a therapist as we're trying to build that therapeutic relationship and trying to move them towards their goals. In the same way, if you're working with a traumatic brain injury patient and they're agitated, they are not feeling safe, they're paranoid, it's going to be hard to do higher level socio-emotional types of treatments if that basic sense of safety is not met. So how can we do that? Can we take a sensory approach? Are there different therapeutic modes we can try to implement to help meet that safety and security need for the patient? Now, as we reflect on level 3, there's probably a ton of things we could talk about, but what I find really interesting about this level and as it relates to occupational therapy is that when we think about the tasks that we do on a daily basis, they are so interconnected with our roles and relationships, right? So as we're working with patients and clients, trying to really get a good social background on them and an occupational profile that has a robust sense of what are the things that are meaningful to them as it relates to their relationships to those around them. I think that's really helpful to make sure that we are addressing something that's meaningful because it is a basic human need. So once somebody's physiological needs are met, their safety and security needs are met, now we're thinking about what are the occupations and roles that they play that might be conducive to work on to make sure that they get that third tier of the hierarchy met as well. In the same way in pediatric populations, it's so helpful to keep in mind that ultimately for children, specifically certain ages, friendship and social sense of belonging, or even a familial sense of belonging, is so important to developing the next stage, which is going to be that self-esteem stage. So that we want to make sure we don't necessarily jump to just self-esteem, but really address how are we addressing their social, emotional skills and interactions, and how are we supporting them in that so that we can work on maybe a better mental health or a better self-esteem, which is kind of that fourth tier. Now, what I love about Maslow's self-esteem need is that it really highlights the value of occupation in relationship to social interaction. So once somebody is able to live out those roles and tasks that they find meaningful in terms of their relationships to others and even themselves. For example, if somebody can now cook for themselves and dress themselves, there's a sense of a greater acceptance of self. And in the same way, those occupations that are focused towards others, like being able to drive and bring somebody a meal after an injury, or being able to make it to church or to synagogue, whatever their occupations are that help to contribute to their social needs, which we can kind of conceptualize as relating to level 3, we know that as people engage in those things, there's going to be a greater sense of self-esteem, a greater sense of self-respect, and there's going to be esteem from others too, because now that person can contribute to their community in the way that hopefully they want to. And then finally, we get to level 5, which is self-actualization. And what I really love about this, it's a different way of thinking about working with clients and having them hopefully meet the highest level of goals that we can meet. We may not see a patient at that stage. You may only see them during the acute inpatient stage, or maybe it's a patient who just unfortunately never gets to where they want to be, and that's unfortunate. But it is really neat that we are part of that journey with people, and that we are part of that journey of helping them maybe meet a physiological need, or a safety need, or a self-esteem need, or a love and belonging need, and then ultimately hopefully helping them to live in their sense of purpose and meaningfulness as they get to do the things that are most important to them. And what a privilege that is for us as occupational therapists, as OTAs, and as students to be part of that journey. If you like this video, please take a second, make sure you click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, so that you can be kept up to date regarding new videos like this one coming out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.